everybody, this is Thrice Download. We're going to be getting you a rerun tonight for Thanksgiving. I know it's been a little late for the start here. Regardless, I hope you enjoy the show here. We'll get you a rerun going now. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Thrice's Daily Download. Soon to be starting this episode, Thrice's Download. This is it's been a long time coming. Had to balance some things out, rearrange and organize the material fabric of this quantum reality. But I think we will find that there is going to be a new kind of run going in order to really expose truth, reality, freedom, and the enslavement of this lovely people called Americans. Because that's really what's happening, folks. So, been out for a while, MIA, tried to get a couple shows going to actually redo those titles. If you've been following on Blog Talk Radio, going through the download section, you've seen, hey, there's these Thrice Daily Downloads, but there's nothing on them. It's just the titles. So, sorry about that, folks. I'm going to go ahead and take those titles. There were some fun ones in there. Truth About Freemasonry, Rants and Raves, and there's another one, can't remember the title, but going to get those, redo them, air them here on Tuesdays and Thursdays are going to be our new airtime with Thrice's Download, and not daily download anymore because we're not doing this daily. So we're going to go ahead, we're going to go ahead and get this going. Tuesdays are going to be more of a current event days. Thursdays we're going to go a little deeper down the rabbit hole into the aspect of what you think is a material existence, but science is slowly and rapidly in different areas starting to discover is totally not real. Your material reality is fake. Money, the phones we use, everything. It's a reflection of a deeper inner meaning. So that will be Thursday nights, folks, to get you into the weekend so you can really think when you're going through those shamanic trips with those substances. Because, that's what most of us do on the weekends here in America and most of the world is we party. And if you didn't know, that's actually a way that you get in touch with your spirit. And whether you allow these negative energies to manipulate that aspect of your being, like I say, when you meditate, you can be considered a zombie or put into a zombie state if you don't really control it. So, you got to learn control, everybody, or the lack of control, or the loss of control, the letting go of control. That is the biggest control you can never have, is giving your control over to the all or the spirit, whatever you want to call it. But moving forward, we're going to jump into current events. Like I said before, if you've heard the show, HTC Blink Feed, lovely way to stay on topic, up to date with everything going on. Just so that you know, if you hear a baby crying in the background, I do apologize, folks. I have a new boy. He is Adonis Samael Saita. Beautiful boy, about a month old now. And he is just wonderful, but he does like to wake up in the middle of the night and scream. So that has been one of the things holding me back. Well, I apologize to my son on that one. Not holding me back. He's been one of the things that have been motivating me to better balance my life and to change and to become a better person, so that I can teach someone how to truly live in this world as a free man. That's what I believe. I believe we should all be free. I believe we should all understand what freedom really is. So, anyways, let's go on to current events. What's going on in the news today? Let's see. Using HTC Blink Feed. If you don't have an HTC, this is a great benefit of having one. I'm glad I have this little device. It's a HTC M7. That's what I use. Great flagship. M8's supposed to be even better. A little bit better. I heard this is actually a pretty good device compared to the M8. But, so what we got here, let's see, Jezebel, Pitchfork, no, let's move forward. Let's find some news here. Actually, you know what, I can select Life hacker. Let's go with life hacker for a minute, guys. Okay. So this is something interesting. Now, life hacker, if you don't know, is a way of little tidbits and things that can hack your life. Things you can do that actually create an easy aspect of life. Some of these, I don't know, they can be a little strange, but a lot of them can be pretty useful in everyday today activities. So here's one: pour a carton of juice upside down for a few splashes and more control. Glug, glug, glug. When you pour a carton of juice the typical way, the juice the juice tends to gush out, at least if you pour quickly. There's a better way to avoid the whole mess. Turn the container upside down. The GIF below posted on Boing Boing demonstrates the difference. So there's a picture here, and he's just pouring, and you can see it splashing around. Boing Boing commenters also noted that this applies to any carton container that has a screw cap, such as a motor oil. This is interesting. So this is going to be a hack that you can actually apply into your automotive uses. Man, Ricardigan explained what's happening. It's a closed container with a small spout. Pouring liquid rapidly enough to block the spout creates lower air pressure inside the container. Air wants to rush in and fill it back up to equalize the pressure. So the second it gets a chance to do so, whoosh and glug. It's a pretty fun article. To stop this from happening, just pour at an angle and rate that leaves an air. Somebody did a mistype there. That's why I couldn't read it. Starting that sentence again. To stop this from happening, just pour at an angle I messed up. Just pour at an angle a rate that leaves an air gap at the top of the spout. Chalk this up to another one of those things being done wrong. So basically, they're just saying you got to slow down with your pour, guys. Which, I don't know. That seems like a common sense thing to me. So interesting. Let's see. Oh, wow, it looks like 100 of Dropbox passwords allegedly leaked. An anonymous hacker is claiming to have leaked a few hundred username and password Dropbox accounts. It's unclear where they actually came from, but either way, it's time to change your password. So here you go, folks. This was actually released on October 13th, Monday, so that was yesterday. And I guess, I'm a Dropbox user, so I got to change my password. That's pretty smart, and I'm going to have to change a couple passwords, you know what I mean? And unfortunately, that's what happens when you actually use the same password, folks. And I've always known that, and that's why I try to stay up on current events myself, so that way I can avoid those things. And if something happens, you just change it as quick as possible. Let's see. We're going to move on. Let's find another feed here. Russia Today. Let's see what's going on in Russia. Okay. Let's see. Here's a fun article. This is going to be about a UFO 25 years ago. Let's see, 25 years ago, the TASS news agency claimed a UFO had landed in Voronezh, Russia. This is pretty interesting. Let's find out more. Like I said, this blink feed is pretty cool. I get a lot of different things. So this is just basically saying that it was a fraud back then. And, yeah, not a good article. Well, that's one thing with news, You always got to find something that's worth it. All right, so here's a good one, folks. Here's America's Canada joins coalition against ISIL. ISIS, IS, whatever you want to call it. This is from Al Jazeera. Here's a news organization I actually respect. The Life Hacker was pretty interesting. Russia Today seemed to be a little out of it. Usually Russia Today for HTC Blink Feed is just a bunch of different collaborations of Russian sources. Even just Eastern European sources. So sometimes it gets a little, I've got to watch through everything, and I did not do that tonight. I just got ready and went. So basically, here we go, move forward. As Canada joins coalition against ISIL, members of Canadian House of Commons have voted in favor of sending Canadian forces to combat the Islamic State in Iraq and the Levant ISIL rebel group in Iraq. Interesting. The motion was to push by Conservatives and Canadian Prime Minister Stephen Harper on Tuesday, and clears the way for Canada to send CF-18 fighter jets to embark on airstrikes in Iraq. So once again, we got a country who's just going to go over there and bomb the crap out of them, which, like we are doing, with drones, which is pretty interesting, because it makes you wonder, why hasn't it stopped if we're just bombing a bunch of people? So, when you talk about the government just killing people and being reckless with the drones, obviously they're not too reckless, or else it would already be gone, and then we'd really have to fear I always try to see the positive in everything, folks. So I'm just stating that. Interesting though, Canada's joining the fight officially. Let's move on and try to find something else here. All right. Wow, this is interesting. Pastor has sex with congregants, lies about AIDS, refuses to step down. Oh man. Well, he's a black gentleman. I don't have any preference whether white or black. I just point out what it is. Juan McFarland is an Alabama pastor with a horrible track record. He admits to sleeping with congregant. Well, again, mistype. This is interesting, by the way, folks. Just a side note. I've noticed nowadays spelling and mistyping has been a very interesting thing that has popped up, which makes me wonder, do none of these editors have spell check? Or, well, I guess it is spell check. Maybe that's the problem. People don't spell check their spell check anymore. They just trust the machine. All right. So moving forward, he admits to sleeping with his congregants while not disclosing the fact that he has AIDS, has mishandled church funds, and used drugs. Interesting. He refuses to step down despite the fact that the church officials have voted 80-2 to have him ousted. Isn't when a group of people in a church and they vote 80-2, wouldn't that remove you? I don't know. I just think if I was at a church and that didn't happen, I just knock the guy out and drag him out. I mean, I don't think God wants you to. I don't know. Sinners are sinning. Sinners will sin, and God loves sinners. He just hates the sin. But I don't think you should be leading the church, no matter what kind of doctrine it is, unless it's Satanism, because then you just believe in man's desire and will, which, to each their own. It's important to note that having AIDS shouldn't preclude anyone from being a pastor. This is the article continuing. It's a serious condition, but it says nothing about the quality of the person living with it, and there is no reason that someone like McFarland should be ousted on that alone. But his admission that he knowingly had sex with his congregants, hey, they corrected the word that time, while not disclosing his status, is problematic. Dude, wow, they really put WTF in this. This is from the Jezebel. I don't know a lot about that news and feed, but I'm going to have to look into that. It's pretty interesting. WTF, question mark. How are you going to be a church leader and do something like that? Where does it say to knowingly put people at risk without informed consent in the commandments? Add that to the allegations of substance use and mishandling church funds, and it's hard to see how McFarland, who took to the pulpit on Sunday to deliver a sermon on divine healing, is a good person to be talking about morals and ethics. I agree with that one. McFarland, however, disagrees and says that he refuses to step down regardless of what any vote of confidence may say. Now, the only thing I got to say about this, I always try to look at the other side of the story. There's nothing in here that actually talks about him and what he says, but I do want to say we don't know what he really did. People saying you did something is very different than you doing it. And that's just one thing I want to point out here and want you to realize. Just like with the president, one thing I always try to say is, what if, it's like Bill Hicks. I'm pretty sure this was Bill Hicks' skit. He took the president into a room, restart. Imagine that you're the president and you get elected. You're all excited. You want to cause change. Then you win. All right? So you win, you get elected, and you're like, all right, okay, I want to do this. And I'm in a nominee, by the way. I want to do this. So you get one. You get all excited. You walk through those doors. You meet the Secret Service agents. They say, Mr. President, let me have you come into this room. And you walk in this room and you see an old TV with an old VHS tape player, and you just they pop in that tape, and Secret Service says, just sit down, sir. And then they show you the angle of the JFK shot that nobody else has, and it's from the shooter. Imagine that, where that's what the president gets when he's first elected. And I'm not saying that it's what happens. I'm just saying that's how cruel the world is. The world is pain and suffering.